Some of them will make you literally a criminal. It is bordering on fraud in my opinion, because you're giving your players a false sense of safety in that case. So if you see this kind of mechanism, it's the same stuff, but worded differently to somehow circumvent the German employment law. We calculated it was like a couple hundred times your monthly salary.
Yeah, I don't want to even hear it. When I actually know how it's supposed to be, it is fucking blurry. Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Leo. I'm the Valorant agent for Fabryka Esportu. Today I'm joined by Stan, the CEO of Fabryka Esportu.
Hello.
We're going to dive today into a crucial topic for pro players in the esports industry, which is contracts. And to start things off, Stan, so many players fall into a trap of not giving the proper time of reading their contracts, and that will lead them to eventually signing bad contracts and signing bad deals. So with that in mind, why it's so crucial for players to read their contracts properly and why contracts matter?
It's a very good question. Obviously, like when it comes to esports players, we always send all the documents to our players through electronical signature providers. And the thing about those providers is that we are able to see when the players open the document and when the players sign the document. So unfortunately, we've been able to see many times that they signed the documents within the first 10 seconds of opening the file, which clearly indicate that they don't read it. And with documents that we send to them, I'm sort of like a bit more chill, because like I know what's in this document, but I'm always like really afraid about stuff that they could sign just without it if they got it from somebody else. So today we will be talking to a player who actually was a victim of a bad contract. We will be joined by Ambi, and I think he will shed a bit of light about the consequences that can happen if you sign a really bad contract. But realistically, the crucial part is that people, especially young players who get offered their first professional contracts, they are just super excited to just sign their first contract so that they can call themselves a professional player, and they can do the GIF on Twitter, it's official, and they're very, very, very hyped about it. But if you sign a bad contract, it can lead to stuff like being contractually jailed, having to pay some penalties. This can have consequences on your taxes, of lacking certain opportunities. So it's not irrelevant. Like, people need to pay attention to contracts, and that's pretty much it on that.
All right. So with you talking about actually jail contracts, all the risk of like having those risk of signing a bad contracts and all of those stuff, is it really the solution for the players to have an agent? Because realistically, so many players come to us with agents and they still have problems.
Yes, that is true. Although I always recommend players to get an agent. Like, unfortunately, in esports industry, this job is not regulated, right? When I talk to my partners from football, first of all, they had to pass exam on the knowledge of the football industry and also on the legal aspects of contract. In esports, just everybody can open a Twitter account and call themselves an agent. And multiple times I saw situations where like people with zero legal education or zero education at all were basically reading contracts and checking contracts for the player. And it is bordering on fraud in my opinion, because you're giving your players a false sense of safety in that case. Even though people may think that I am smart, I'm going to read the contract, it's going to be easy, but realistically, we have lawyers for a reason, right? Like, we have people who go to school for 5 years, they do their internships, they work in the legal departments, and like they get experience so that they understand the whole context. Legal documents are not existing in the nothingness. Like, there is context, there is a legal precedences, there is like regulations that apply to it, and without having a proper understanding of all that, like, reading contract is not going to lead you anywhere. We have the privilege of working with many players who worked with different agencies before. we took players from like massive agencies, international ones, who tell us that they were badly mistreated, that they signed shit contracts that we didn't have to fix. We are still trying to resolve some of the issues from the players we signed this year that came to us from another agency, and we have to clean up their mess. I think everybody should get an agent, but while talking to a potential agent, make sure you actually vet them. Make sure that they actually are using lawyers, because I could be checking the contract myself. I went to law school, I worked in law firms, like I could do it, but I don't do it because I have lawyers with much more experience than me who are able to check it. And it would be unprofessional and unethical for me, which most of my day is spent negotiating contracts, talking to players, like going to the gym with them or going to LAN events. Like I'm not an acting lawyer. I'm not working as a lawyer, so I wouldn't feel secure doing this stuff myself. I always have lawyers who check it. Lawyers who their only job is making sure that the contracts are good, that they have the best understanding on what's happening in law, because as everything else, law is evolving. There is a difference in local law, in European law. There are new doctrines of sports law. So this is not easy stuff, and definitely not something to be like taken lightly. So good agent can help, but bad agent can actually be a detriment to a player. So definitely look for that.
Obviously, I agree with that, and there are so many issues in this industry. Especially agents need to do their job properly.
To follow it up, like I think there are some good movements to regulate it. I know that LCSPA and Valorant, also Association of Players in North America, is doing some sort of vouch system for American agencies. I respect that. There is nothing like this in Europe, as far as I understand, but I think it's a move in the right direction. I really think that, like, especially since developers do not really seem like they care about this topic. For example, in League of Legends, they gather information about agencies, right? They gather information who is representing a player. On the Riot Force, we also always have to fill it out, how much commission we make, and what country legal law applies to this contract. So there is some movement in that direction, but we are still in the very early stage of this industry, and it's clearly unregulated. So
So going back to the contract sports, there is an important question also I want to ask you. For all the players that signing a contract, what are the top clauses to watch out for, or to be like, oh, you need to look out for these things?
Of course. So obviously it is different with each contract. Unfortunately, in esports, we don't have any standard contract forms. That's where it differs from football, because in football, minimum contractual like obligations that are regulated by the governing bodies that are enforced. In esports, like I've seen 3 pages long contracts and I've seen 80 pages long contracts. There is no standards with that. So sometimes the contracts are in the different languages. Sometimes they are very short, very long. It varies at all. So when it comes to industry standard, I'm afraid to say that most agents and also players, when they do it alone, like usually the negotiated factors is the salary, is the duration of the contract, and maybe there are some bonuses that are negotiated, right? But when it comes to actual good lawyer who is checking the contract properly, the variables are much more. So first of all, there is a matter of symmetrical commitment, and let me explain that. You can imagine that you have a contract where a player commits, he signs with an organization for a year or 2 years, let's even say, right? And for those 2 years, if the player wants to leave, it has to be either a mutual termination or he has to be bought out. So he is stuck there. He committed his life for 2 years to this organization, right? A symmetrical contract would mean that the organization is also committed to him for 2 years. But very often we see that organizations always want to make sure that they are secured in a situation where the player drops off, or that they just want to pick up somebody else. And they put in a clause that says the contract can be terminated by the organization with immediate effect or with 1 month notice. So on the one hand, we have player who is committed for full duration of the contract for, let's say, 2 years. And on the other hand, we have a organization who is committed to the player for a month, because that's the termination notice period. So that's something that we really need to watch out for. And obviously, it's understandable that organizations needs to be secured. We do not try to paint the image of evil organization, but there are always mechanisms to make it fair. For example, we had situations where player had multiple year contracts, but they had a clause that during the off season they are able to be terminated and given like a 3 months notice period or a 3-month termination payment, which means that they are there for the duration of the contract, and if the team wants to get rid of them, they have to do it in a proper manner. They would have to do it in the off season when it will be easy for the player to get another team, and they have to give them an advanced warning or a payment so that he is not stuck without the salary for the period of duration. Again, basic stuff, completely normal, but nobody is doing that, and it's sad to see because in the end it fucks over players. And we had situations where we had player that we knew from other agency and our player in the same team. The team disbanded, the organization terminates everybody's contract, our player gets paid 3 months severance, and their player is just kicked. Those are the differences that we are talking about, and it's not going to be reflected in the amount of money you're going to be making in the contract, but it can come out to the actual amount of money you will get to your bank account. And in the end, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what is on the contract, it matters what you get in the end, right? So on the other side of the same coin, we have one-sided extensions or automatic extensions or right of first refusal. Again, they can be done in a proper way and they can be done in an improper way. So imagine a new player coming into VCT. You sign an entry-level contract for a rookie. Rookies usually make between 6 and or very good rookies get like 10, 11, 12k, something like this. So 6 to 12k I would say would be the range for a rookie, and 12k is pushing it for like the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
And with a good agent. But let's say you sign the first contract and you get the minimum you get for like 6k euros,
6K,
and you think, okay, this is my first year, I will just earn that and that's it. But then in the contract there is a one-sided extension clause, which says that if the organization wishes to extend the contract, all it has to do is give you the information, hello, we are extending the contract for the next year. And while 6k for a rookie was a low amount but acceptable, 6k for a player who is already established and could be really good already, like can have experience, can have a really good year in the VCT, that's just not acceptable, that's just not worth it. And that's unfortunately something that we see in some of the contracts, and players realize that at the worst time possible. It can be done correctly. You can, for example, create a clause that will say when the contract is nearing to an end, there can be a renegotiation period. Both parties can agree for a new salary for the next year. There can be a right of first refusal that is done correctly, or also like there is the mechanism of 1+1 contracts. So we agree that on the first contract you're making X amount of money, let's use the 6k as an example, but if the team wants to extend with you for the next year, they have to pay you more money for the next year. So it's increased to, let's say, 10k, right? And again, it is a mechanism, it's the same mechanism, but used properly, it causes big difference in what you're actually going to be getting as a player. There is a matter, as I mentioned, the right of first refusal. So right of first refusal means that if your contract is ending and another team offers you X amount of money, let's say you are on 6k, the other team offers you 10k, your current organization can match it and automatically extend your contract for the next year, right? Even in this clause, this can be done properly or improperly, right? Because the big factor is how much time does the organization have to give you answer whether they want to renew you or not. If they will have a week to do it, then it's okay. They have a week to tell you if they want to use the right of first refusal, then it's cool. What if they have 3 months to do it? What if they can wait until the last day of your contract? For example, it would be near the end of the off season, and then they tell you, you know what, we are not using the right of first refusal, you can go. What happens then? Then you're basically screwed. All the other teams are failed. You cannot do anything. And that's the thing that is crucial, the timing to make sure that everything is good. There is a matter of termination. Technically, that's the difference between guaranteed and unguaranteed contract, right? Guaranteed contracts, if you sign for a year, a guaranteed contract means that you'll get 12 salaries, no matter what. A not guaranteed contract means that you can be terminated during this time, or you can be put to bench. Usually there is a cost that is required for the termination, right? So it can be for sporting reasons, meaning you don't play as good as they wanted you to play.
Yeah.
They should have some like burden of proof. Is it stats? Is it bottom fragging? Is it review from the teammates? Is it the coach's decision? Lot of variables here, right? This can be for disciplinary reason. Your contract can be terminated because you post something stupid on Twitter. But some organizations want the right to terminate the contract without any cost, without paying any compensation.
Yeah.
This is where it gets tricky, right? Because like, so what? Like I'm signing a contract for a year, I play for 3 months and I get terminated during the season. Every good team has players already, so what? I'm just going to be without a job for the rest of the year? And stuff like this happens. You see players in VCT.
I've seen this a lot, actually.
Yeah, you've seen players who've been dropped during the season. They don't have any salary. They have to go back to their home, and they cannot get on a good team. So they have choose to either play for a bad team and risk a bad season and risk going even lower in their career, or they have to wait for the new season and lose all out on the competition. And remember, like 3-4 months without playing at the top level, people forget about you.
Yeah, very quickly.
So stuff like this is very, very important. There is a matter of non-compete clause. If it's during the contract, then it's fair. You cannot play for another organization while you're under contract with your current organization. It makes sense. But I've seen contracts where organization put a non-compete clause that meant that for half a year after the end of the contract, you cannot play for another organization. I'm not going to even cover the fact that it would most likely be unenforceable. It breaks the Bosman law that was established in football a long time ago, and it's like a big principle in sports law overall. But it's just plain, it's abhorrent behavior, and it's unfortunately it happens. Like, it is proposed to players to sign contract like this, right? There is a matter of benching and transfer systems. Okay, so imagine the bench is usually reserved for when the player is performing poorly, or he's injured and stuff like this. And in football, when you have 11 players who are playing on the field and 11 players or more who are sitting on the bench, it makes sense to rotate players. But in esports context, it basically means that if you're benched, you're put on a transfer list. And organizations often, they like to put in clauses that if you're put to the bench, then your salary is reduced. And I've seen some stuff like, I think it was even a loud situation with the biggest organizations in League of Legends on franchise level, when the salary on bench was 7% of the starting salary. 7%. It's outrageous.
That's
right?
crazy. Yeah.
And obviously it's an extreme scenario. Most teams want to have like 50% reduction or 70% reduction, but still, it still impacts you. And you imagine that you sign a contract, you negotiate your terms, and then after some time you get benched. And obviously everybody thinks, no, I'm not going to be benched, I'm the best player, why would they bench me? But again, we had players who were benched. Like, we had players who were treated like this, and the crucial thing is to make sure that the bench like reduction is not severe. And again, there are different reasons for bench. It can be bench for sporting reasons, so you're not developing, you're not playing as good as they want you to play. They can bench you then. There can be a bench for disciplinary reasons. So you're rude to your teammates, you get in a fight with somebody, you post something stupid on Twitter, right? And we had some contracts that we signed and we negotiated, which said that if the bench is for sporting reasons, there is no reduction. And if the bench, or it's a lower reduction, or if the bench is for disciplinary reason, then the reduction is more severe. Meaning that the player is able to be disciplined if he does something bad. But if the team wants the player, they are giving him good contract, they are also supposed to have some part in the risk, so that if the player is not playing well, that means that they did bad scouting. So if they want to bring somebody else, pay him the full salary. And this is something that can be negotiated, this is something that should be negotiated, and is very often neglected. And it causes players to be surprised when they are put on a bench and they receive a fraction of the salary they would get.
Yeah.
Right? Hi, it's Stan from the next day. I actually forgot to mention one thing. There is the different situation in some of the contracts when it comes to the naming. Majority of the contracts that you will encounter will be independent contractor contracts, which means they are not an employment contracts. This has been a controversial topic for a long time in esports, but I'll just skip over that. If you're lucky enough to get to the highest level of competition, being VCT in Valorant or LEC in League of Legends, or if there's any Americans watching this, LCS for you. So once you get to this stuff, especially on the European market, LEC and VCT EMEA is located in Berlin. And if you play in those leagues, you have to move to Berlin, and because of the fact that you're living in Germany, you're now under German legal code, and the contract you'll be signing with an organization is a German employment contract. The first way you will see this is because you'll pay much more taxes than you paid ever in your entire career, close to 45%. But that's there is nothing we can do about that. But there is also a different name for the mechanism of bench, because when it comes to German employment law, you cannot have a clause that limits an employee remuneration based on his performance. It's against the German employment law. So the organizations that are in LEC and VCT, they figured out a clever way to work around it. And instead of having a bench clause, which reduces the salary if you're out of the active roster, they now have an active roster bonus, which is the exact same mechanism, but theoretically compliant with German law. So instead of having a base salary and a 50% reduction on the bench, you now have 50% of your salary being a starting salary and 50% of it being an active roster bonus, which disappears if you're out of the active roster. So if you see this kind of mechanism, it's the same stuff, but worded differently to somehow circumvent the German employment law. I'm not going to get into the topic if it's legal or not. That's not really for us to argue. That's for the German authorities. For your sake, you have to pay attention to it the same way as you'd be paying attention to the bench clause. So that's the stand from the future. Checking out. There are some different mechanisms for even handling the salary part. So there are some contracts which pay a big base salary and little to no bonuses. There are others that have lower base salary but big bonuses. And it's also something that needs to be calibrated. But you have to remember one thing. Agents are mostly paid based on a base compensation. This puts in an incentive. If an agent is sneaky and is more cynical and is thinking mostly about himself, he would want to increase the base no matter the bonuses. But the good agent will do what's best for the player, which is negotiating not only the base but also bonuses.
Bonuses, yes.
And the bonuses can be varied. Like it can be a big amount for big result. For winning Ascension, for example, you can get an offer for next year to extend with the team on better terms, on more like VCT level terms. So there are mechanisms that can be used, but again, it has to be negotiated. There's a matter of prize money and digital items. Especially in Valorant, digital items are becoming more and more important. Like more and more money is going to be coming from the team bundles and stuff like this. Agents usually don't make commission of this part, so it's often neglected. But it's your money. It's literally 5 to 6 figures. So I don't know, 50, 60, maybe 100K dollars that you're missing out on because your agent didn't care enough to negotiate that part. And that's really, really bad.
It is.
And so obviously, like, not every team is going to allow it. So sometimes there's going to be some hardship. I will be honest, we have different experience with dealing with different teams, but it's a job of an agent to negotiate that, not just the base salary, right? After that, there is a matter of intellectual property. It's an extremely in-depth topic that needs to be taken care of. I'm not going to bore you all with that because it would get really technical. Your intellectual property, your image rights, what happens with your image right after you leave the organization. Let's imagine you play for some low-tier organization this year, and in 2 years you're in the franchise league and they are using your image. That is a problem. There is a problem, and this has happened. Very similar to that, there is a matter of individual sponsorships. This is the stuff that also needs to be really well regulated, Because imagine that you actually win a lot of stuff, you go get popular, you start interacting with big streamers and stuff like this. Your individual numbers are getting good. Your agent can then talk to brands and get you some individual sponsorships.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it secured in your contract, then you can do it. And that's really important to handle. And the last part, obviously, the lovely taxes. Some people say that there are only two certain things in life, and it's death and taxes. And it's very true. And you may not be thinking about the tax authorities in your country, but you can believe me, they are thinking about you. And they are trying to find ways to get the money out of your pocket. So
I can approve that.
so a good lawyer and a good agent will make sure that the contract is done properly. It's clear who is paying the taxes. Is it the organization paying the taxes, or are you supposed to pay taxes? If you're supposed to pay taxes, where are you going to pay those taxes? Are you going to pay those taxes in the country that you live in? Do you need to pay the taxes in the country that the organization is in? This is all stuff that needs to be checked. It needs to be vetted. It needs to be consulted with your accountant that you should have. And your agent should help you set it all up. Without that, you can be in big trouble. We even had a situation a couple of years ago with a player called Flasha, a CSGO legend, who literally, he didn't know that he had to pay taxes. He basically cheated his government from, I think, 5 figures worth of taxes, and he was sentenced. He has a criminal record, and he had to clean streets of Stockholm from trash. And he had to basically, after practice or before practice, he had to take like a big bag for trash and pick up trash from the streets. Again, a noble thing to do. It's a good for the environment and good for the cleanliness, but it's not necessarily something I would like to do instead of practicing. And he had to pay like a big fine on top of that. So all that and much more is the stuff that your agent and lawyers need to work on and negotiate and make sure you're secure. Because without this, you can be in big trouble. Some of those matters will result in you having career problems, but some of them will make you literally a criminal. So you need to make sure to take care of that. Some of you may think, okay, Stan, why are you sharing your knowledge? Why are you sharing your know-how? Like, don't you think it will make your agency less competitive? I'll be really honest. We already have the reputation of doing this the best in the industry. I don't really care about like hiding stuff. The biggest thing is, like, I see a lot of players being fucked over because their agents are lazy, compliant, and just greedy, and some of them don't even have agents. For me, the biggest aspect of this industry is that understanding of this business needs to improve. And that's why we are doing this podcast, to like shine the light on that topic and to make sure that people understand this is not just playing video games. This is not just fun. This is business. We are all professionals, at least we should be.
Yeah.
And because of that, there is a certain level of professionalism that is required.
Yeah.
Both on the server and outside of the server.
Outside.
I hope you didn't fall asleep during this segment. I hope you got something interesting from that. Right now, without further ado, let's go talk to Ambi.
Yep. Let's dive into it. Let's go.
Hi Ambi, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for taking your time to do this interview with us. So let's start with a quick warm-up exercise, which would be the tier list of Ascension teams. Leo will explain the rules to you right now, and we can go from it.
All right. So first of all, we have 10 teams. We have 5 categories from S to D. And the rule is there must be a team in each category, and each category has a limit of 3 teams. So you have to put one team in each category, and every category has a limit that it can't exceed more than 3 teams.
Okay, I understand that.
Nobody can be. We cannot have everybody S tier, and we cannot skip the D tier. So yeah. Go for the hot takes.
I will try to cook. Okay, so first, that is very clear to me is that I put Job Life into ST. I mean, I experienced it firsthand, so I know what they are capable of. It was incredibly hard to play against. I don't think we need to say much more, I think those guys are great, and if they just show up on the Ascension, I think they will do great, and I think they have a very good chance of winning. I am putting them on S tier. Then, let's see. I think I will lean a little bit more towards A. Maybe we'll come back to the S tier, but I think I will start putting teams into A tier already. And I will put their CGN.
Okay.
Then I think I will put their Apex.
Okay.
And last but not least, I would do Desire. I think
Okay.
those three teams are very good. We screamed a lot of CGN. We know that they have their very atypical playstyle, which is very hard to play against. And to be honest, I think it will be more about the enemy teams if they will prepare well enough to understand how they play and to counter it well. But again, I feel like they are proving that they are a very good team, for a long time now, and I think they will do great, Then of course
So
Apex.
one thing you said in here, like, so it seems
Yeah.
like you rate CGN higher than Mouse.
I mean, I know that they beat them, but it's a land finals, and it's anything could happen, I mean,
Okay.
it's hard to judge, Of course, it's a tier list, anything can happen and stuff. But this is my personal feelings, from screams and from everything that I have just saw, in the past
Okay.
months, let's say. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, I will stick with my prediction. I'm not letting you, getting involved and you know what I mean. Change my feelings. So yeah.
Very
And
good.
then Apex Desire, both of the teams, they are just smashing their competition. I would say that the competition is not the best in their leagues, but I still think that they are very consistent teams, and they are good. And yeah, their rosters are decent as well. I just think that those two teams will do great as well.
Okay.
Then yeah, let's move on. I would say that now, it's time for the mouse sports. It's very close, but I would put mouse sports, probably Go Next and Pacific, I would say. I think I will do
Okay.
it like this. So those three teams, again, of course I'm cheering for my Czech boys, Alexik and Mini, from Go Next. So I hope they will make it, but yeah, it's kind of hard, to uh, put everything into correct places. So someone needs to be the B tier. I think it's fine. I would say the A and B tier could be mixed up. It's very close. Then we have the Turkish team Pacific. They can do incredible stuff if they are feeling themselves, as any Turkish team can.
Yeah.
So
We all know their firepower.
yeah. I think their firepower and their if they will catch the momentum, and they will have the good day, I think they can do very good damage, Eh, maybe even win the whole tournament, who knows. And of course, Mouse Sports as well. They won the split two of the German league. They should be maybe in the A tier, maybe my prediction is not very good here, but yeah, I just know what CGN can do, how they play. So I just have to put CGN in the A tier. I'm sorry. But yeah, but
Alright,
again,
fair enough.
very good team, Mouse Sports. I'm looking forward to watch them
It's
play.
your tier list, brother. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but okay, then again, I have to put everyone in everywhere, so it's kind of hard, I don't want to be the harsh person, but I think I will put Barcelona in C and the other two teams into D. I think that's
Okay.
how would my final tier list look.
So
Um,
you have Job Life in S tier,
yeah,
CGN, Apex, and who else? And
Desire.
Desire.
in A tier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. You have Go Next, Mouse, and the
Pacific.
Turkish guys
That's it.
Yeah.
in the B tier. Okay. We have Barcelona in C tier and Falcons and So in D tier. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Interesting take. I definitely agree on the job life part, but
Yeah.
it's funny to see how everybody has a slightly different takes. The good thing is we'll be able to see who wins it. It's actually going to be very curious if we have another French team in the VCT. Nothing
be.
wrong against it, but it would be cool to see some variety in that. That's for sure. But yeah, it's going to be fun to see who wins it. So yeah, thank you for the tier list, Ambi. That's very nice of you. So now that we have the warm up out of the way, we can go to some hard hitting questions. So obviously this split and this year was quite good for you. I think especially after the role switch, you showed that you can deliver a ton on this level. So from your perspective, like how was it? How was this year for you? Maybe you didn't get to the ascension and stuff like this, but from your POV, like, do you consider this a successful year? What would you like to say about it here?
I would say that it was year of like learning stuff for me because, as you said, I'm switching the role, and I don't think I could have chosen better team, to prepare myself for the next years as Valiant was. I'm very thankful for the coaching staff that we had. Like Bromas was helping me as he could. I think he did an amazing job to prepare me for this role. It had ups and downs, and as you said, we didn't reach the goal, which is kind of bitter. Yeah, you have to look at it from the bright side always. So I would say it was like successful year. We worked very hard. We did good job. I think both in split 1, split 2, there were some maps, where we could have played better. Oh, hello, Kitty. Wait a second. But I think overall it was good, and we all learned a lot about the game, about our roles, about everything, So it's just important to just keep pushing, to keep learning stuff. Or that's for me at least.
Okay. And when it comes to Ascension players, like, how was it to play against different regions? Like, how would you compare France to other regions? Like, did you feel any difference in play style and how they approach the game? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends from team to team. I wouldn't say that the regions, like as it is, like the whole thing is like different. But what I would say for sure is that France is like super competitive region, and the league is just super stacked. So I would say that we were very prepared for the other teams, for example, in the play-ins or even in the run for the ascension. But the teams, are very good in the French league. You have to battle for every spot, for every game, basically. And I think that's the main reason why we could compete as well, in the planes decently against the other teams from the other leagues.
Okay, that's good to hear. We've had an opportunity to work together for a long time, so we saw you in different teams, like and then different roles. Like historically, obviously started playing as a duelist, then you transitioned into more of an initiator role. How do you feel in this different role? Because we obviously discussed it, but like from your point of view, why is initiator the correct role for you right now?
When I was deciding, what I want to do, I was just trying to understand, my biggest strengths as a player, as a person, basically. And what I noticed is that the biggest strengths are not really used inside the role duelist. I went with the hard way to like completely switch. Of course, it was not fully new to me because I played it in Giants a little bit. I played a lot of Sova and stuff. It was kind of hard decision to make to just fully abandon the duelist, maybe drop one jet on the breeze we did in Valiant. Yeah, I think just for me, it is about strong things that you have, in yourself as a person and be able to provide it on the server. So apart from like playing duelist, being able to entry and having insane mechanical skills and stuff, like I wasn't able to help my teammates to make plans, to play clutch situations, to basically spread awareness. I really like to do, I really like to be vocal and make plans, So basically that was the main reason, why I decided to switch. And I think it was a great decision, to be honest. I am very liking my new role that I am, and yeah, we will see how it goes from here.
That's good. That's good. And another thing that is, I think, quite unique about you is you are a man of many talents. We know that apart from the gaming, you are very good at the piano. We all know about your Rubik's cubes and all your talents with that. But I wanted to focus on the physical part, right? You're a man who became more active recently than he was maybe in the past with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So can you tell me about the new passion of yours, the Jiu-Jitsu, and how do you think it impacts your mentality or performance? Like, is it all positive, or are there any drawbacks from doing that on your performance? You've been doing this for how long right now?
I think it's over a year now. Let's say year and a half almost.
And how does it feel as an addition to the lifestyle of a professional player?
Yeah, I mean, it is very important to have some activity in your life, and especially when you are a professional player, because you are sitting in your chair almost the whole day, either like a gym, or some kind of sports, which in my case is jiu-jitsu, is necessity. Strength to your body, that's first thing, but as well to ventil all the mental stuff. Just clear your head. When I was deciding, what to do, because I was playing football a lot, let's say,
Yeah.
before Valorant and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But then the COVID came and I didn't have that much time, so I had to look for another possibility. Many people told me, go to gym. That's like the easy way, not easy way, but that's the way many, for example, pro players go, and it's kind of easy. You can go alone, you can go whenever you want and stuff. When I heard about jiu-jitsu, and especially about the thing that it's kinda as a chess with your own body, I was like, okay, like chess, maybe we can try that, and it was the best decision I could have ever made. It's very fun. It's very physically demanding, and I like after this year and a half, I would say that my physique changed a lot. I really see the difference. It's incredibly fun, you just compete, like roll with other persons on the mat. You learn something every day, because it's such a huge mass majority of like knowledge, the jiu-jitsu, which I absolutely love, and you have to learn it step by step with every training. It's just incredible. I just love it so much, and I recommend to everyone who likes to, for example, some combat sports but don't want to get injured by hitting someone in the head, for example.
Yeah.
This is the perfect way how to battle with someone, not get injured by hits. Now, I'm not saying that jiu-jitsu is fully safe. Of course, that's maybe like the drawback that you said, to showcase as well the bad sides of this sport. It is easy to injure yourself. We are doing a lot of arm bars, and stuff, and basically you can break a lot of bones in sport. But again, if you are not competing, if you are just training, it shouldn't be a problem. You just need to know your limits. Just know if the guy is better at you, or if he's already holding you in the submission, and just tap him. I would say I didn't have any serious injury, to be honest. So, yeah.
I think it's a matter of just dropping your ego, right? Like to understand
Yeah, so-
that you don't need to win every position. If the position is already lost, just tap. Like don't get injured. And
Exactly.
I think you also told me a thing that you really mentioned to the guys that you're rolling with. Like guys, like I understand that we may go hard sometimes, but like I make my living by playing games, so don't fuck me up.
To be honest, it's not like this. It's not like this. I mean, I really don't like to do this. I don't like to share my personal stuff. But of course, I know, but not that personal. But what is happening, to be honest, in our gym is that my coach is protecting me a lot, because I told him, and then he is like having fun, by
Alright.
like or having fun of me, and he's like telling it to the others, like watch out, he has his pencils, he cannot be injured there, go for leg locks, for example, there is no problem. So
yeah, if they
so,
fuck
yeah.
up, if they fuck up your leg, it's going to be less of an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. But we are often joking about this, It's fun.
That's very nice. That's very nice. That's great to hear. Going back in the past a little bit, you had some, how do I say that, difficult experiences with teams and stuff like this. I wanted to touch a topic of your old team Sampi, right? Because obviously, like this podcast is about contracts, right? Like what to watch out for and what to be aware of. And we had a first-hand experience of a bad contract. So can you like tell a bit of the story? Like how did it go? Like how did you start with this team? Like what were the circumstances of signing the bad contract? And I can tell a bit after that how we got you out of it.
Okay.
So,
So basically, when Valorant started, I got very excited. Of course, I really liked it. We played a lot of Czech tournaments. There was a huge hype around it. My team at that time, we were winning a lot of the tournaments. Basically, what happened was that I got picked up and into this organization. It was called Sampi, and it was big organization, I would say, in the Czech Republic, or it still is. Still working. And for me, again, as a young player who was about to sign his first contract, I was very excited. I didn't know much about esports, about this whole thing. So, of course, I gave it to my parents. I read it as well many times, the contract and everything. And I was happy, I will go, I will be professional player. So I signed it. And of course, the contract was not very great for me. I would say that we didn't have much remuneration, for the time we spent at the time. The main thing that came after a few months or maybe a year, I don't remember, was the fact that there was a huge buyout written on my head, and of course, when I was signing the contract, I wasn't even thinking, that it will ever be an issue. Someone else will want to buy me out, for example. But then we were doing decently, with the team, and there was an offer from Team Giants at that time, which basically they wanted me in their team.
I think actually the problem started after your trials with G2, right?
Oh yeah, could be. Yeah, true, actually. Yeah, there was a period of time where I had trials with G2, but unfortunately, I didn't get through. Time Kellogg's won, and he played with them after. Basically, at that time, I think the team Sampi realized that I might be decent and that they could actually use this buyout for their advantage.
I think they dropped like the whole team, right? And you were the only player that was left on the roster, and you were just supposed to sit there and wait for being bought out.
Yeah, that was kinda after we were done with the tournaments. That's kinda what happened. We basically went everyone our own ways, because yeah, we just didn't want to play with each other anymore. The thing was that everyone got cancelled, their contracts get terminated, that's what I mean. But my contract didn't. Everyone had the same contracts, same terms and stuff. But they just decided that okay, you will not get your contract terminated. You will have to sit on the bench until the contract actually finished. It
8
was
months also like this.
yeah, it was a long time
long
actually,
time.
which would mean that with that high buyout that I had, I mean, it was very big compared to what I was getting.
We calculated if it was like couple hundred times your monthly salary.
Yeah, I don't want to even hear it. It sounds ridiculous now, when I actually know how it is supposed to be. It is fucking hilarious. So basically, I was there, sitting in contractual prison with a Giants offer on the table. They were just not willing to pay that high of a buyout for me. I was still a new player. I didn't have much international experience. They just knew that I was doing good in the East League at that time. So it was like very hard decision for me. But thanks to Stan and to Fabryka, the agency that I am under until this day, we managed to go out and sign the contract with Giants. It actually led to a trial in the team Sampi, but yeah, it ended up good. That's for sure.
To shine some light on it, like the contract was, again, not to put the shade on the organization. Like obviously, in the end, organization is supposed to work for their interest, for their owners. They're supposed to protect their interest. But the whole idea is, if organization is pushing for their interest and the agent of a player is pushing for their interest, then it's balanced. The problem is where the player is just alone and is just entering a contract without understanding it, and there is like organization wants the best for the organization, the player doesn't really understand it, and then it can cause a lot of problems. So obviously the situation was not too clear. It ended up in a court case. We work with some great lawyers in Czech Republic, and we managed to make it work. So lucky that everything worked out, but yeah, it was definitely not the most pleasant circumstances to figure out that you were sued by your old organization, right?
It was a warning call. You really have to get someone who understands this. So I'm appealing to every new players, read your contracts and especially get your agencies to help you with it, because it's very important.
Agencies is one thing, but ideally you need a lawyer to work on your contracts.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we are always pushing. Like, we have a separate legal team. Technically I could be doing the contracts, but I'm not an active lawyer. I work in esports 100% of the time. So we have separate people whose only job is to work on the contracts. They work on football contracts and on esports contracts, and they're happy to take anybody else's lunch with that. They're eagles and they are very good at what they're doing, and that's the standard that we want to push. Like it's very often that the people who are reading the contract on the agency side, they know as much about contracts as the player they are representing, and it ends up biting everybody in the ass. So, but I really believe that contracts should be taken seriously, and should be really like carefully considered what the player is signing. Yeah, like switching from that, because we don't want to bore people too much with the legal stuff. When it comes to your routine, like right now, and like your preparation for matches, Ambi throughout his career has been doing his studies at the same time. How do you manage your day? Like, how do you schedule everything to make sure that you have time to like take care of your health, take care of your relationship and your cat, your professional career, and the studies as well? Like, do you have any tips on how to organize your schedule and how to be more productive?
I mean, it's very hard, like I'm always living by the rule, which is do something, at least small thing every day for what you are working. So basically, when you compare it to the studies, or even for Valorant, you just have to put an effort and do something in the day that helps you move forward. It is important to have a schedule, which you already said, and to follow it. That's another thing that is super important as a professional player, or as a person, I would say, even outside the esports. Good sleeping schedule. It's very important to be ready for the day, to have energy, to just be mentally prepared as well, to just not be sleepy, because when you are sleepy, you are doing half of your job. It just fades away, So sleeping, number one, everyone has it differently, but let's say 8.5 hours, very important, and it should be as well in the very set amount of time. Yeah, you choose you and you want to do it and just stick with it. Of course, having decent meals is very important as well, having breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks in between, fruits and stuff. Another thing that will help you with energy, with your health overall. When I compare my day, for example, when I'm playing, I just wake up, for example, 2 hours prior, and again, have the breakfast, do some warm up to clean up the sleepy eyes, be ready for the day. Then you go do some teamwork, 8, 9, 7 hours, it depends on the day. And then with the last hours, you have to be very picky in what you do. Or like that's how, at least how I had it. For me, it's either going to gym, which will help me to, as I said already, stabilize you mentally, help you in your physique, help you to get the stress out from your body. So it's very good. Or you can do some relaxing activity if you feel like you have done a lot. Then again, relaxation is as well important. Spending some quality time with your girlfriend, we're playing with your cat, for example, another great activity which my cat would love to have at the moment, for example. Or in my case, which you mentioned, is doing the study. So I am not saying that I'm doing tons of hours every day, but it's about 30 minutes to, for example, 1 to maybe 2 hours. It depends how much do you have. But basically, every day, do a little bit. And you are moving. And that's basically how my day works. You just keep going with small stuff, and the small stuff pile up into the huge stuff, basically.
Perfectly said. I really agree with everything you just said. It's the routine. Even though like some people say routine is boring, but no, routine is saving your productivity. You have to have set times to doing certain stuff, and yeah, I love that, and I totally agree with that. So to wrap it up, I would still consider you somewhat of a young player, but you're obviously not 16 anymore. So,
That's true.
if there is any 16-year-old aspiring players watching this, what would you recommend to them to improve and to try to get to the highest level?
I would say consistency. I would say that consistency is the key for various of reasons. You just keep playing the game. And of course, you should as well watch the game if you really aspire to be pro. You should watch the professional games or even the high elo streamers doing their moves. That works as well. Just play the game, watch the game, and most importantly, enjoy the game. Just enjoy what you are doing. Keep improving every day, as we said. Small stuff leads to huge stuff. Every day, do those 3 things, and I think you will be fine. And keep pushing.
Thank you for this, for taking your time, man. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience with our viewers. It was a pleasure to talk to you again, and yeah, to everybody watching, thank you for watching this stuff. I hope you got something interesting out of it, and yeah, we will see you all in the next episode. Thank you.
Bye bye.